Well, hello. This is Rochelle, and welcome to my channel. This has been an Roetz week, and all of the printables from February 2020 are just so gorgeous that I couldn't wait to use them, and I decided to use them all for 1 week because they're just really, really pretty. This specific one for Galatians 2 verse 20 has a very large little face with hair on, and I wanted to not cover my words. So what I did is I took a piece of trace paper, cut it down to size, and I'm going to be using this piece of trace paper as a tip in on my page. This is an easy way to, if you don't want to cover the words and you still want to read what it says, to create a beautiful full page if you don't have an interleaved Bible, for instance, and to then use up your printables in that. You can also use these printables for other things, obviously for art journaling. This girl would just be gorgeous on an art journaling page, and so there's multiple uses for it. So you saw me measure out the trace paper, and then I just stuck double-sided tape on the one side of it so that I can then use it as a tip in. I cut out all of the elements using my brother Scan and Cut, and then you can also fussy cut this if you like fussy cutting. And then what I did is I ran all of these little tiny elements through my Xyron sticker maker. I have a review of this Xyron sticker maker over on my channel, or a little tutorial on how to use it. It's actually a very nifty little tool, putting the stickers in at the top of the Xyron and then pulling it out, and as I pull it out it has a sticky backing to it that then doesn't show on trace paper. If you've ever worked on trace paper or anything clear like acetate, you will know that glue kind of shows on it. So if I then flip this thing around, you'll see that there's glue. You can see the glue on the back side if I had used glue. And I wanted to use both the front and the back of this trace paper. So I wanted the elements to be on there without leaving this glue blob trace. So this Xyron sticker maker makes it easy because it covers the entire element with glue like a sticker. It makes it a sticker, and then it's easy to use. So I followed through these little, they're like little leaf branches, decorations, I would say, onto the page. They are on the printable through her hair. Obviously that kind of fussy cutting is beyond me, and so I just drew in my own, and I did it on the back of the trace paper so that it would then be a part of the element on my backing as well. I hope you'll see what I mean when it all comes together. It is a lot of wording that doesn't necessarily feel right unless you're physically doing it with me. So you'll see that this is on the back. I also used the faux washi on the front, at the top and the bottom, to use that little word sentiment that says I was crucified with Christ, which is what Galatians 2 verse 20 says. It says that it is no longer I that live, but Christ who lives in me. And when I think of that, this printable is just perfect, because I think of, being surrounded by flowers and beauty and all things pretty, because God in me means that the death that lives in me naturally doesn't come out as much, if that makes sense. So physically, what that means is it doesn't mean that I die or I have a death moment and a resurrection moment. It just means that my flesh, the things my flesh want, I put aside, I suppress, because Christ now takes that place of the temptation and the sin that so easily ensnares us. I am adding some little leaves at the back, and they kind of just come through to the front and adds to the elements in a different texture. And so this page is kind of dimensional, and I like it. It has lots of different texture. I put the full verse at the back, which then says, I've been crucified with Christ. It is no longer I who live, but Christ who lives in me. And then here's the explanation. And the life I now live in the flesh, I live by faith in the Son of God, who loved me and gave himself for me. So that's the only way you can do this crucified with Christ, no longer I that live thing, is understanding that Christ paid that price for you, so you don't have to. So you don't have to physically die. You don't have to sacrifice, a certain amount of goats and sheep and whatever else. You just need to understand that the life you live now is by faith, and it is no longer you who live, but Christ in me, and Christ having been crucified for us. So that sin, that temptation, that lust, all of those things that our flesh go after, those things no longer have to be the forefront, the surface things. I'm not saying it takes it away, because you and I both know, when we've been walking with God for a little bit, these things don't just go away. But every day you make that faith choice to live as Christ would and not in my flesh. It's that every day putting on the garment of Jesus to live your day as he would. That what would Jesus do bracelet that we all like so much. To rather do it that way instead of me doing it my way. It's a tough choice sometimes. I don't know about you. I find it hard sometimes. But I'm so thankful that Jesus paid that price in full, and that if I have faith in the Son of God and I live by that faith in the Son of God, then he's got me. It's covered. Just art-wise, like I said, I used some pit artist pens to create some additional elements on the back. I am now just blending some light blue, I think this is the Aqua Gelato, just over the stark white of the printable from the back, and you'll see it creates this beautiful haze around her and on the front, and I just love how that came out. Again, stamping my date stamp with some pit artist pens, just inking it up with a pit artist pen, and now I'm ready to stick my tip in into my page. So this double-sided tape that I used is exactly as broad as that little white piece in the center of my Bible. So I'm just sticking it there, pulling off the top and the bottom a little bit before I place it, and then pulling through the backing off as it's on there, placed and positioned already so that it doesn't move. And then just highlighting my verse with the pit artist pen and calling it a page. I quite like how this came out. It was a really fun process, and I loved spending the time in the Word. I hope you give it a go, and I will see you again soon. Bye-bye.